As President and CEO of RespireRx Pharmaceuticals Inc, I'd like to welcome you to our short investor presentation. RespireRx Pharmaceuticals is a small, publicly held biopharma company currently trading on the OTCQB exchange under the ticker symbol RSPI. RSPI focuses on the development of revolutionary, innovative medicines for the treatment of various psychiatric and neurological disorders. The underlying science in each of our programs is neurotransmission, and moreover, our focus on controlling the process such that our drugs not only achieve target engagement, but can specifically positively modulate the activity to address specific conditions. We are developing breakthrough advanced treatments for multiple disorders suffered by millions of people in the US and worldwide, for which there are either no available drugs, such as OSA, or the existing treatments are archaic, largely ineffective, and in many cases can lead to debilitating side effects and overall decline in patients' conditions, both mentally and physically. As a virtual company, we are personnel light. However, our breadth of experience and coverage across the multiple facets of the life cycle of our drugs is comprehensive. The structure we've developed cohesively matrices the skill sets of our management team and board, partnered with a long-standing and successful relationship with our research fellows, who in part serve as scientific advisory panel, but they also are on the ground, intimately involved in the science and R&D. This structure makes us efficient, flexible, and agile in making informed, timely decisions without the usual red tape. It also lends itself very well to managing the various third-party vendors and services required to progress our programs. In essence, we are seeking to secure funding to successfully drive our clinical programs, achieve pivotal program milestones, and ultimately prepare our products for market commercialization. As part of our imminent corporate restructuring plans, there are several advantages to separating the technology platforms formally into newly formed subsidiaries, including but not limited to optimizing their asset values through separate finance channels and making them more attractive for capital raising as well as for strategic deal making. We are striving to secure funding to advance the OSA program with the immediate focus on completion of the new formulation, perform the requisite PK studies and an IND meeting with the FDA, and driving the phase 3 clinical stage to completion. We will then be seeking additional funding to definitively position this product for commercialization. For the neuromodulators portfolio, we are seeking funding initially to incrementally advance the Ampakine, SCI, ADHD, OIRD phase 2 programs, and also the lead Gabakine, KRM81, through phase 1 for the treatments of pharmaco-resistant epilepsy and chronic neuropathic pain. The figures here depict the imminent corporate restructuring in the creation of two distinct and separate legal entities: RespireRx, comprising our pharmaceutical cannabinoids programs, and EndeavorRx, housing our portfolio of neuromodulator clinical programs. So let's take a slightly deeper dive into the two subsidiary entities. Firstly, RespireRx, which houses our pharmaceutical cannabinoids. Our lead candidate is dronabinol, indicated for the treatment of obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, and has successfully completed phase 2B and is being prepared for phase 3. The new formulation, currently in advancing development, potentially opens up a whole new set of opportunities, including new patents, market exclusivities, and indications beyond just OSA. That takes us to EndeavorRx, housing our neuromodulators. Firstly, our ampakines programs. We've had 3 successful Phase 2A trials. Phase 2A ready for spinal cord injury, or SCI, and Phase 2B ready for ADHD. And then our gabakines program. Our lead candidate, KRM81, is indicated for pharmacoresistant epilepsy and chronic neuropathic and inflammatory pain. It's close to completion of preclinical, and we're eager to start Phase 1, given the global interest from strategic partners. Here you'll see a succinct figurative Gantt chart summary of our candidates in varying stages of clinical development. At the top, dronabinol, essentially Phase 3 ready, pending completion of a new formulation and an IND meeting with the FDA. Our ampakine CX717 for ADHD is poised for Phase 2B. Our ampakine CX1739 is prepared for Phase 2A. CX1942 is a more soluble follow-up compound. And then you'll see our lead gabakine, KRM81, indicated for epilepsy and chronic neuropathic pain in preclinical stages. This slide is intended to provide a more detailed look into our dronabinol development timeline, from the completion of formulation development all the way through to NDA submission at the midpoint of 2024. You will see the key sequence of events lined out, from the pre-IND meeting with the FDA through to IND submission and approval, and then to the various clinical studies that need to be completed, including likability studies, next day performance driving studies, and then to the FDA end of Phase 2 meeting at the beginning of 2022. Phase 3 pivotal trials in OSA are expected to complete at the end of 2023, with the NDA preparation and submission by the midpoint of 2024. This slide is very important in summarizing the immediate and near-term goals we are targeting for the various programs, all of which require incremental funding support. Firstly, with regards to our lead cannabinoid, dronabinol, for the treatment of obstructive sleep apnea, the next key step is to complete the proprietary formulation work, and in turn, the requisite PK studies with the new formulation. We'll then move to an IND meeting with the FDA, and in parallel, complete our Phase 3 design. With respect to ampakines, the next key step is to initiate our spinal cord injury Phase 2A studies. And as regards gabakines, we need to close out our preclinical development of our lead compound, KRM81, and in turn initiate our Phase 1 studies. We also intend to aggressively and strategically expand and further strengthen our portfolio of patents. The majority of the programs we are targeting are without question multi-billion-dollar markets, with the exception of SCI, which still falls into the multi-hundred-million-dollar category. For dronabinol, there's no prescription medication available for obstructive sleep apnea, and therefore the whole market is essentially wide open for the taking. Particularly exciting given our product is well advanced and the data thus far has been statistically significant. As regards our neuromodulators, ampakines and gabakines, the indications we are pursuing with these breakthrough medications are currently predominantly managed with scheduled habit-forming drugs or otherwise drugs that have debilitating side effects. Based on the data returned so far in our programs and on approval, we do not expect any of our drugs to be habit-forming and to have very limited or no side effects. Across each of our product families and individual drug candidates, we have a wide scope of existing intellectual property. However, we are highly focused on strategies to further broaden our patent and market protections. In addition to the multiple granted patents already, we have a plethora of patents in either provisional status or in various stages of prosecution, with new patent claims being layered into the landscape on a continuous watching brief. A few words to stress the existence of government protection from generic competition. Data exclusivity programs create strong barriers to market entry that are automatically granted and enforced by the medicines regulatory system without limitations or exceptions. This applies to all of our products in development, and we intend to take full advantage of this mandated legislation. As I come to a close on our investor presentation, I wanted to say a few words about our corporation. Our assets are highly desirable. All of our products are breakthrough medicines which have the potential to be the first ever treatments to market and/or will rapidly replace the inferior treatment options available today. The investments made into innovative but highly sound science and in turn the development of novel, robust medicines has significantly increased the probability of these drugs not only being commercialized, but in some cases with blockbuster potential. Our revised corporate structure, amongst several other characteristics of our program, including our world-class experienced management team, makes for creative ways of structuring mutually attractive investment models. Thank you very much for your time and attention today.